Well, we'd like to welcome you today to Roost News, the place for all things volunteer. I am Louise Gallagher. I'm a team member for the Roost News, and I'd like to welcome our guest today, Patricia Fry, Associate State Director for Community Outreach and Engagement in Arkansas, as well as Brenda Tenner, one of the volunteers. We want to thank you both for being with Roost News today and for being our special guests.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Right. Well, we're delighted you're here today. And the topic for our podcast is fun and fulfillment activities in Arkansas with the volunteers and Arkansas community. Now, we know that AARP has a fun and fulfillment component, and your party at the park and other fun and fulfillment activities in Arkansas are going to be part of interest to our staff and volunteers listening into this podcast. And so, but before we get started, I'd like you each to share a little bit about yourself. I introduced you with your titles, but what does that role specifically cover for you as either a staff member, Patricia, or you, Brenda, as a volunteer? If you could tell us a little bit about how long you've been with AARP, why you chose AARP either to work or to volunteer, and anything else that might be relevant for our staff and volunteers.
Well, great. Thank you for letting me go first. I been a member of AARP. It was since the magic number of 50 years old. So, but since I retired, I decided to become to volunteer. I was introduced by one of your current volunteers. I have to give her was an Etta person because she's the one that introduced me to AARP, and she was excited about the different activities that it involved and meeting the people, different people with the different backgrounds and experience. And that intrigued my idea of doing some extra time since I retired. You know, it takes a little while to kind of settle down. And then after I travel a bit, babysit, and I said, okay, I might as well try to expand my knowledge. And AARP it interests my knowledge. The knowledge is constantly learning of new things that's beneficial for our community as well as individuals. And I share that with others about what I've learned at AARP. And the people are so friendly and willing to support you. And the other good thing about it, when you as a volunteer, I like this about AARP, that it kind of fits into you let it fit in your schedule, not AARP, demanding your schedule that you have to stick with certain time and places and dates. So it just worked very well for me, and I'm interested. I have enjoyed the time, and like you say, especially in the park in Fayetteville, that was really interesting, meeting other people and encouraging people to come to AARP because it really is a very nice organization to be a part of.
And Brenda, how long have you been one of our volunteers?
I just only been, I would say, about 8 months, just recently.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yes, or maybe about, I guess it's about 8, 9, something like that.
Great.
Yes.
Even though you've been a member since you were
50, since I was 50 to the current age.
Yeah.
But I didn't know AARP had so much to offer, and that's what everybody said,
Yeah.
what? Okay, and I share it with everybody I know.
Great. And how about you, Patricia?
Yes, so my role as Associate State Director, or ASD, we call it, for Community Outreach and Engagement, it allows me to work with the community and engage with them about our different priorities. So everything from livable communities, we do Social Security, Work and Save. I work with them on disaster response and planning. So anything that we establish in our state planning year to year, any priority that we want to work with the community and engage the community with, it's my job to go out and work with the community members, share that information. And I get to do that through working with wonderful volunteers like Ms. Brenda Tenner today, and a whole host of volunteers across the state of Arkansas. And that we just go out and make sure we share initiatives, engage with the community, and see if we can work with them to build and plan together.
And how long have you been with AARP, Patricia?
Not very long. I started with AARP in April of 2023. but
Great.
not very long at all.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
And I was attracted to AARP initially, and did not know, like Brenda, all the wonderful opportunities and the things that AARP did for the community. But I knew a little bit enough to know that that seemed like something I would want to do, because I've always worked in positions or even volunteered in positions myself where I was engaging with the community and doing things that were impacting the community to make a difference, right, and to make improvements across the state of Arkansas. And so AARP sort of fell into that same vein, and I knew it was something that I wanted to do. Again, was blown away once I finally came on board and learned about all the great opportunities and the things that they do offer. So I'm excited to be here.
I'm certainly with you on that. So, well, let's go ahead and transition back to our topic, fun and fulfillment, and your party in the park in Arkansas. And of course, you mentioned earlier, the National AARP office has a program called Fun and Fulfillment. And of course, Movies for Grownups is part of that. And it is great to hear that you've embraced this aspect of the program with the idea of a party at the park. So if you could please share why Party at the Park, what were the components or what did it cover? Who was your audience?
I'll start off, Brenda. So we
go
were
ahead.
looking for an opportunity in what we call the western part of the state, or Northwest Arkansas, specifically in the city of Fayetteville. It's the second largest city outside of the state capital of Little Rock in the state of Arkansas. So we were looking for an opportunity to engage new volunteers. We have a great volunteer base in Central Arkansas, and we're working diligently to build that volunteer base in Northwest Arkansas. And so what's the best way to get people to come out? You do something fun, right? And so we wanted to do something fun, something we had not done previously, to sort of get people to come out and notice us and want to take a part, become a new volunteer and learn about new volunteer opportunities. So we had already scheduled a Movies for Grown Up in Fayetteville. This was our second Movie for Grown Up in Fayetteville, and very successful. We've always had 100+ people to come out for Movies for Grown Up. So people love to come out and see the latest new movie. And then it's a free movie with free snacks. And so the public loves that. And so we were thinking, how can we capitalize on people who are attending Movie for Grown Up, but also grow that audience and then have them to join us to learn more about volunteer opportunities? And so we were like, wow, let's do this at a public location. Let's contact Park and Recreation and do this at the local public park. It was in the same location or same community as the Movie for Grown Up event. So it's almost like we're targeting that same audience, but then we can continue that conversation on another day with that audience and with other people who didn't get an opportunity to come out to the Movie for Grown Up, but maybe can join us for a party in the park. And again, what's the best way to do that? Is to tie in whatever your priority or your initiative is into a fun activity. And so we thought that would work best.
Yeah. Do you have anything to add, Brenda?
Oh no, she pretty much covered it all, but I just wanted to add it was fun and it was totally unique, something different, and it was and I believe the reception that we received from the attendees that attended the event, they was like, "Oh, you all are just so happy to be here," and we said, "We're happy that you're here," and it was hot too, but it was really a fun and enjoyable time to reach out and just share about AARP, and some people had been a part of it and they shared their story as we shared ours, and they was excited to get signed back up again, the participant that came and the new people. So, oh, I didn't know about AARP. So it was just a fun, as you stated, Patricia, as Miss Patricia Fry stated earlier, it was a fun, and it also was an engaging opportunity to meet the participants that came to the party in the park or in the park.
And the thing about volunteer recruitment is that you always have to reinvent yourself. And so we're always looking for new and innovative ways to get the word out, but also attract new volunteers, like wonderful volunteers like Miss Brenda. And so that was just a new tool that we thought we would add to our roster.
It sounds so exciting. It's so Fabulous, true. And something right there in your own community. And like you said, you piggybacked on movies for grown-ups. So there was already some awareness and you sort of built on that and moved forward. So you are obviously pleased with the attendance and the feedback. Do you want to expand any more on that in terms of, did you do any additional surveys or was it mostly just listening to people's feedback? How did you get the feedback and were you happy with the attendance?
We were happy. Our attendance goal initially was 150. So we were thinking about the size of the park and the day. It was a hot summer. It was a hot summer, June, July day in that time. So we knew that people, would probably be a little hesitant to come out. So we set the number at 150 and we ended up with about 125 attendees. And so we almost met that goal. So we were satisfied. We would always love to have more people to come out and join us. But we thought for the first time doing this type of event, and then we're trying to get the word out to the community about who we are and initiatives and priorities that we bring to the table. We thought that was pretty successful for the first time. And it kept us pretty hopping. So
True.
Brenda can tell you, yes.
True.
Well, tell us a little bit more about that. How are you hopping?
So I wouldn't even speak about. So one of the assignments that the volunteer had was checking the participant in using the on arrival app through the iPads, and so Brenda can tell you a little bit how that went.
Yes, that was. So the good time. The good thing about it, like you say, it was a bounce off of another event there, and the idea how they had it set up. It was set up for the hot day, and the people, they had no problem. We asked them to sign in and asked them for their name. They was just so willing to help it out. But I like the most part that they had the food trucks, they had cool water, they had snow cone. It was sort of like a kiddie adult event. And I think it kind of like the event was kind of festival like, and that others start coming as the day went on. But everybody was just so helpful, and it was just really just a very festive event as well as informative.
Right. So aside from checking people in and kind of keeping tabs on things, what other responsibilities were volunteers and how many volunteers did you have at this event?
I think we had a total of 10 volunteers altogether. Volunteers were responsible for obviously checking people in at the registration table. That also includes if someone didn't pre-register and they showed up as the word started to travel. So volunteers were responsible for actually registering people who did not pre-register. And then we had a safety table, so to speak, we had CPR kits, a sunscreen, a bug spray, mask, different things like that at that table. And so volunteers were responsible for handing out those items at the table. We had a vendor table where we handed out additional information about some of our priorities and some of our goodies that we often take out when we're doing public events or tabling events. And then we also provided what we call we don't call it, they're called spray bottles. It's like a little water bottle with a fan attached where you click the button and then it makes sure that we were hydrated and ventilated while we were out in public. And so the volunteers were responsible for making sure that attendees had access to those things as well. One of the other ways that we engage people and gather feedback, so we created a livable communities game, bingo game while we were there. And so I think about 35 of the participants played like 3 rounds of bingo, where as they answer questions, if you're familiar with the game of bingo, we went into sort of a lightning round where they would then ask livable community affiliated questions about their specific communities. And so we made sure to cater those questions to that community, to the city of Fayetteville, so that people can have some familiarity with those questions. And then once they answer those questions, winners were awarded small prizes for the day. And so that was exciting to get people engaged and to gain their feedback and to learn how much they knew about their community and things that we needed to address in the livable community priority. The other one, obviously, they received a feedback survey after attending. So once they were registered in the on arrival app, they always get a feedback survey. And so that was another way that we gained some access to feedback for this event.
So, wow, I'm telling you, it seems like you covered all the bases, Patricia and Brenda. I mean, you have community engagement, and then they get to play a game, win prizes. Then you have handouts, and you have all this free food and all this, and these
Yes, it
dance
was.
cool.
Wonderful food. We
Like,
did have wonderful
you know,
vendors, yes.
you just didn't have an overnight mattress for stepping out. No.
We just didn't have that. That's correct, but it was very, very engaging. I just noticed how we as volunteers, of course, was participating to assist our participant, but it was just engaging. I think even though, like you said, it was tired, it was hot, but everybody was so engaged. But it was just energy was just flowing, and let them know that how we was happy for them to be there, and they appeared to be happy to be there. So we
And
was just
yeah, I
bouncing
can
off
tell
each
from
other.
the way you tell the story how happy you guys were to be there in spite of the heat, right?
Yeah.
Summertime heat
And
for all of
we had a DJ on site from a local radio station who
Oh.
actually came out. And so people, it kind of kept the energy sort of up. And as Miss Brenda mentioned, we had one of our vendors was a like a ice cream popsicle vendor. And so that, we were giving you sugar to sort of keep the energy going throughout the day. So
You got something for everybody in that
yeah.
community. It's
Exactly.
terrific. I love it. Involving all the senses too, so people could see, eat, play. It's
Yeah.
great.
Yes,
You did a
yes.
great
But we
job.
made sure that we provided a list to the participants to say, hey, if you want to know more about volunteer opportunities, then we want, please sign up. And so the volunteers were also responsible for maintaining that list and talking to people who were in attendance about their volunteer experience and saying, hey, we would love to follow with you more. And so after the party in the park, we did just that. We brought in a team of volunteers into the state office in Little Rock, and they actually reached out via phone and called every individual who signed up to volunteer on that list and spoke with them about their experience volunteering and how they could then get started as new volunteers with the organization.
Oh, I just love everything about this. You're rock stars. It's great. So,
They
um,
made it happen. They made it happen.
you need
It was a
leadership,
fun
and you
time.
got good leadership there in Arkansas, it
Yes,
looks like to me.
yes.
So, but so obviously this was the first year you did this, is that
Yes,
correct?
it
And
was, yes.
so looking forward, are you thinking about making it a yearly event?
We
And
are, we don't know, obviously, we'll look at the date and the timing, because maybe June, in the end of June, early July may not be the best date to do an outdoor event. We just got so excited, we didn't even think about the heat in Arkansas and being in, where we live in the central part of the United States, it gets very smoldering during the summertime. So when you're outdoors, so we may look at doing something similar at another time of the year when it's just a little bit cooler, less hot out for an outdoor event. And then it may not be in the same park area, or it may not even be in the same city, but it may be somewhere else. It may be at another outdoor location. We'll just look as we sit down and do our state planning for the year coming up very soon. We'll determine, we'll assess how this event went, if we felt like there's adjustments that we can make, and then how we can duplicate it next year. It just may not look the same, but it will be something we do on an annual basis. We're always looking at doing volunteer recruiting opportunities. And so as we try to build our volunteer base across the entire state, we'll move that annual event around the state. Yes, ma'am.
I love it. It seems like you obviously put a lot of planning into this from what you stated. And the more you talk, the more we learn how much planning. And then
Yes, I
everybody
believe it
shows
did.
up and everybody has a good time. The people that and you're also able to, like you say, engage more people to learn about AARP, learn about, come volunteer with us, come join our team, and they'll learn, like we've all learned, all the wonderful opportunities. So I think you've given a lot in terms of anticipating the future and looking to obviously do this again in some way, maybe adjust the time and maybe adjust the location a little bit. Um, And is there anything else you've talked about the areas of success, such as, you got the community engagement, you had vendors, you had prizes, you had games. Are there any other areas that you look at in retrospect for enhancement, improvement, or to target your goals? Can you speak to anything you'd like to add? You've talked a lot about it, though, I'll tell you.
No. Yeah, there's always room for improvement, right? So we want to capitalize on that success going into 2025 and in the year after that. So one of the things I thought about, and it all goes back to timing, so it always depends on what's on your calendar and how, when you plan a big event, you want to put as much pre-planning time into that event as possible, right? So I think one of the things I take from this event is I would love to engage with community partners more and bring them to the table, like a planning task force or a planning committee. I think that may have been one of the things that I could have done a little bit better. So I want to bring different community partners who are sort of already doing community outreach work, but also what ties into our mission. So, if there's particular priorities that we're working on for the year, like this year we were big on livable communities. And so who else is out there working on livable communities? If they wanted to come out and share information with people who were in attendance that day. If anyone else who we can work with to build our volunteer base, let's bring them to the table during the pre-planning stage so that we can sit down and work more collaboratively. It doesn't mean that we don't always have to lead and carry the torch, and we definitely don't have to do that alone. There's so many community partners who are out there and already doing great work as well. So let's always make sure that we bring them to the table. This year things just kind of got bogged down because we had a very full schedule. So I wasn't able to do that as effectively as I would like to have done. But I think working with the volunteers next year, we'll start planning a little bit more ahead of time, and then we'll reach out to those community partners and bring them to the table as well.
Well, I want to tell you, I think it was a bold thing that you did to do this. I mean, here you're fairly new. You got your team of volunteers together. You got this community. And the way the two of you talk about it, I wish I was there.
It was fun. It really was. It really was.
I can tell.
It definitely stroked my I said, this is fun. This is actually fun. Yeah.
It allowed us to relax a little bit. It wasn't just we wanted to recruit new volunteers. We wanted to share the Livable Communities Initiative and others, but it also allowed us to relax and hang out with the volunteers and hang out with the community and build like those social cues, right? Let them know we're in your community. We want to work with you, but we also want to learn about who you are and what impacts you on a daily basis. So, I think the volunteers had fun and we did too. And I think the participants did as well.
Yeah. So, of course, one of the reasons for doing this podcast is to, of course, share the things that you've implemented in your state office there in Arkansas. So if another state is interested in maybe a similar type of program, what advice would you give them?
Brenda, you have any advice you want to offer? Or?
I think the part that we include the photography and the video part, to let them experience it, from a view. And you can also, like you say, it's also the print that you send to people. But when they see it for themselves and see how the interaction between your participant and the volunteers and the coordinators, that part to me is saying to others that, if they can do that, maybe I can too.
Yeah.
Well, I like that, Brenda. Great. And how about you, Patricia, in terms of like the planning and how long this takes and who you had to reach out to? Do you have any specifics you might share with others?
Like I mentioned just a moment ago, just reaching out to community partners who are already out there and doing great work and bringing them to the table in the planning stages. And then make time when you're doing an event where you're doing it in the public and you're trying to have a large numbers to join you. So you just make time on the calendar as you're planning making your state plan for the year. Go ahead and add it into that state plan, and then make time to make sure that you put together a great team of volunteers, a great team of community partners who can help you execute. But I think time management is key for an event like this.
Yeah, I'm very struck by the educational aspect and the community involvement, not just with the community at large that we're looking for possible volunteers, but also just being a part of the community and
Yeah.
bringing in community partners. We're all together, we're all working together. I just love that idea and that
Yeah.
concept.
And I
And
think that's one thing to keep in mind, and I will tell anybody, again, we want to be successful, right? We want to recruit new volunteers. We want to make sure we share our initiatives and priorities. But also, I think it's just about getting to know the community and them knowing that you're there and that you care about the things that impact them on a day-to-day basis. So if you carry nothing else from that, if you can have great conversation, we heard so many great stories while we were there and speaking with people who participated. The volunteers were listening and we were listening. So if nothing else, even our state director was walking around in the heat and she was listening to people as they were telling their stories about their community and things that impacted them. So if nothing else, if you can listen to the community and let them know that you're there and that you care, I think that's successful.
it's kind of a fun town hall in a way, right? We get
Yes.
feedback from our community, and yet we're educating and we're involved in, and the resources are almost endless with ARP. So I agree with you.
Yes.
And many people don't know, but if we have those out at one of these events, boy, they learn. It's like, wow, AARP does this.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true, true. And
That's
it
very,
also
very
get,
true.
you know, like you say, the most important thing, it gets the let people know that you can still be involved, you know, even though you're retired and it's so much. I like the part that you say you tap some of that knowledge that people have taken back with them to retirement and kind of sharing it with the community. And like you say, the livable communities, the knowledge that they have acquired over the years, and you placing it in one spot to help it to grow. And once you grow, the community grow instead of just keeping it to, ourselves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I do love that. That's
And
just good.
I think, Louise, to add one more note, what I would say, anytime you're doing a fun and fulfillment event or something that's just fun for the public, it's always a great idea to engage the youth. That would be one thing I took from this also, and I would encourage others to do. Contact your local high schools, universities, or your youth programs across your city. I think it would be really a great opportunity if we had more youth that was involved for that day. It was a family event, so there were people there that were of younger age, but I think if we had maybe brought them to the planning table, then they could have brought a different perspective to how to approach it. So that would be the
Great,
other
great
thing. Yeah.
idea. I love that
Mhm.
intergenerational aspect. I'm
Yes.
part of the Disrupt Aging too, and it's just phenomenal. And I agree with you. We just need the intergenerational aspect, and you've
Yes.
obviously covered that base as well. So I just want to again thank you both for coming
Well,
today.
thank you for having
Thank
me.
you. Yes.
It's great to hear from you, and such excitement and enthusiasm and wanting to do this again. Uh, and for all those staff and volunteers, we encourage all of you to subscribe to our Roost News podcast channel on YouTube, or you can listen in on the audio version on your favorite platform. And of course, please invite your colleagues to join us. And on behalf of Roost News podcast team, we want to thank all of you for
Thank you.
joining
Thank
us
you.
today. Thanks.